Following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah, go Cowboys! This is Mick Shots, streaming live on DallasCowboys.com and the official Dallas Cowboys app. Now, here are Bill Jones, Everson Walls, and Mickey Spagnola.
It's an overcast, rather drizzly Wednesday. Here inside the SWBC podcast studio, we are safe and sound. And this is Mick Shots on a National Signing Day edition of Mick Shots. Did you realize today is the College National Signing Day? This is the day that high school seniors across the nation sign on the dotted line with the first of the three colleges they will attend the next 3 years.
And they can't decommit after they sign. That's all I read about this morning. Two Missouri guys from this area decommitted to A&M. It's like A&M outpaid them.
Yeah, of course that's how it goes.
More money.
Yeah.
Well, this will make you feel better, Mickey. I've got in front of me the Jacksonville State signings, and so
You got Elkhorn? You got Elkhorn?
I was almost not listening to you say.
Do you have Elkhorn?
I can look up Alcorn
Look up
for
Elkhorn.
you. Okay.
What happened with Alcorn?
If I had said Elkhorn instead of Jackson State, would that have been funny?
Well, it's more like
It's the wrong school.
It's more like Alcorn.
Yeah, okay.
It's not Alcorn.
Okay.
It's Alcorn.
It's Elkhorn.
Alcorn.
Maybe in the SWAC it's Alcorn.
Oh, okay. So
You
it's a new day.
understand what I'm saying?
Don't wind him up today, please.
It's a new
Please.
day.
Do not
Do you
wind him up
understand
today.
what I'm saying?
You're doing it, Bill. Stop.
If you get the wrong school, you get the wrong school.
Right.
It has nothing to do with Jackson State.
Has the cord went back inside
Jacksonville
yet?
State.
I covered more Jackson State than you played there. All right?
Okay.
I was really not listening today until you started this.
Just decided I'd get your attention.
I'm listening.
And
That's
don't
right.
make a mistake the rest of the week like Bill did yesterday, okay? We don't have mistakes on this show.
That's right. We don't have
That's exactly right. I did see Jacksonville State signed Austin Eckler's cousin.
Oh, shut up. The white guy?
He went to a black school.
The white running back from a black school?
See, you guys put a hex on him because he got hurt.
Oh, man. No, he got hurt before we started messing with you about that. He
Oh, no.
It was after.
He got
was
It was
got
after.
He got
re-hurt.
re-hurt?
He got the Mickey Hex.
What happened?
The Cowboys were too powerful
The
for him.
Damone Clark happened.
He might still be laying there after Damone Clark hit him.
Yeah, man.
All right, we move on. We're moving on to Cincinnati.
Do we have
now.
to? Do we have to? That was good stuff.
All right. Well, Mickey, it's a busy day because it's back to work.
We're on to
Wednesday
Cincinnati.
here.
We have a 1:05 press conference. We can all attend, by the way. We got a 2:05 practice and a 3:05 press conference.
You know what? Okay.
The open locker
They
room.
only
Nick.
practice
Or,
1
I mean,
hour?
open locker room.
They only
Yeah.
practice 1 hour?
Sounds that way.
Golly.
It was going to be an abbreviated practice since they got an extra 2 days this week, right?
You know what else is happening? Okay, so McCarthy's doing his press conference at 1:05. And then practices at
2:05.
Okay. He's also on Sirius NFL Radio at 1:30 with his former quarterback, Rich Gannon. I was driving in today, and they were teasing the fact that Mike McCarthy is joining them at 1:30.
So we have to listen to him twice
Where did
today.
he coach him?
At Kansas City.
That's
When he
right.
was at Kansas City and with Schottenheimer. And,
Gannon,
so Gannon was at Kansas City, and then he wound up being the NFL MVP with the Raiders.
That's right.
After Kansas City.
Sure did.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Man.
anyway.
Is that the one they blamed the coach for changing the game plan before the Super Bowl?
That's with
The Raiders?
Yeah.
Yep. So McCarthy.
So we're going to get a lot of McCarthy today.
That's right. Okay, so a little later schedule than normal, and the reason for that is it's a different week this week because it's a Monday night game.
It's the mini bye.
And
Get them
coming
off their
the mini
feet
bye,
as
they're-
long as possible.
That's right. So
Nice.
that's why they do it in the afternoon today instead.
Since they played 2 games in 5 days
Smart.
and won them both after not winning for 5
And
weeks.
they're right back in the hunt.
Right back in the hunt.
Well,
Come on, man. That's what it says.
I got
In the hunt. I'm looking at it right here.
Are you really?
Yeah,
There you
in
go.
the hunt.
See,
Do
they are
have-
back in the hunt.
They have San Francisco in the hunt.
At 5 and 7 also?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I went through everybody's schedule.
Okay.
7 teams have to fill 3 spots. Somebody's got to win the NFC West yet.
Okay.
Somebody's got to win the South. We're going to give Philadelphia and Detroit the other 2
Gotcha.
divisions. Okay.
Gotcha.
So there's 7 teams. They got everybody's got 5 games left to play.
Okay.
There's 14 games that these 7 teams have to play against each other. So there's got to be 14 more losses,
Oh,
right?
wow. This is interesting. High level stuff.
So
You see, I'm here.
you with me?
I'm with you. Go ahead.
So Washington's ahead for the 3rd wild card, 8 and 5. Seattle's ahead for the West at 7 and 5.
Gotcha.
And then there's 3 6 and 6 teams, and then the Cowboys and San Francisco at 5 and 7. So I figured out that there's 14 games between those teams that have yet to be played. So somebody's got to lose, right? So there's a lot of losing that's got to take
It's got
place.
to take place. And it will happen.
So the advice to the
It will
Cowboy
happen.
is just worry about yourself
That's right.
and win as many as you can.
And the fact that you stay focused throughout all of this adversity, I think it's a testament to them, even though they're still not the team that they want to be. What you expect this time of year, if a team's going to make a move, you want them to make it deftly. You want them to make it superbly, I guess, for lack of other words. In other words, don't make the mistake because don't look at playing a team and saying, well, they're just going to make more mistakes than we make, right? We need to be a team that, okay, from here on out, we need to be a solid team. We need to be a team that doesn't have many penalties, doesn't make many mistakes, not many turnovers. That needs to be our charge to ourselves from here on, because the games we've been winning is just because the other team was worse than we were. That's the way I've seen it.
Or played worse, because Washington
that's what I mean.
came in with a better record.
That's
right?
exactly what I mean. They tried to give us the game, or we tried to give them the game, and they refused it. They gave it back to us. That's the way that was. I want us to be a team at this point to where we're not making the mistakes. Right now, we're just making fewer mistakes than the other team. I'd rather we be a team that makes no mistakes and march forward with worrying about just us and how we play, not how badly the opponent plays.
So the Cowboys have 2 games against that group of 7. They got to play Tampa Bay and Washington. Now I know they got to play Eagles, but they're not in the discussion.
I understand.
I think if they win one more game, they clinch the NFC East.
Yeah.
Or they clinch a playoff spot.
Yeah,
if
playoff
nothing
spot.
else. Yeah.
And they may need some help along those lines. Detroit tomorrow night plays Green Bay. What a nice way to kick off this weekend
Right.
with that game. And Detroit can clinch a playoff spot with a win or a tie tomorrow night.
Right.
Kansas City or Buffalo already clinched their division this past week.
I just saw a crawler said that was the earliest clinch with 5 games to go since whenever.
Kansas City has clinched a playoff spot. They can clinch their division this weekend with a win.
Right.
So
But none of that has anything to do with the Cowboys.
We don't care.
That's right.
No, we don't care.
Here's the other
Nothing to do
thing
with us.
when you're talking about now December football. I was just looking up. You want to be playing your best at the end of the season, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You want to streak into the playoffs, Tom Landry used to say.
All right. So the Cowboys last year, what was their record after December 1st? Regular season record after December 1st.
4-0?
They went 3-2. 3-2. They weren't exactly streaking into the playoffs. And what happened in the playoffs?
But what were the losses, though?
One was Miami, right? Or back-to-back Buffalo and Miami.
Yeah.
So 2 teams.
I'm both on the road.
That were
On the road.
on the road, and they were
and
tough
both
opponents.
playoff teams, right?
In 22, After December 1st, the Cowboys were 4-2. Losses, that Jacksonville game on the road in overtime, and Rayshon Jenkins pick 6. And then, the last one was at Washington, the last game of the year.
Because they didn't care.
That's right. So scratch that. They were
Right.
4-1.
Right.
Okay. And in 21, they were 5-1 after December 1st, with the only loss coming second to last week at home against Arizona, 25-22.
I can't even remember that game.
Yeah, it was one of those weird games.
So
again. It was one of
basically,
those weird
7,
games.
the last 3 games.
Like, where the hell did that come from?
I'm adding it up. The last 3 years in December in meaningful games, take out that one that was a meaningless game at Washington, 12-4 record for the Cowboys in December. You want to win 75% of your games.
So are all 5 games now in December, or is one in January?
Well, I'm including
saying
the
this
January.
I don't think there's a game in January.
This year.
Yeah, there's one in January.
Is it one in January?
Yeah, the last one's in January.
So
It's Washington. But I'm talking.
Yeah,
I'm
I know what
including
you're
the
saying.
January games on there.
Yeah.
After December 1st is what that entails. So you got 5 games left. At that same pace, essentially, if you were a playoff pace, would be going 4-1 in these last 5 games.
That's basically what they have to do to have a chance.
And then
I can't imagine somebody's going to
9-8.
win that third wild card game going 8-9. That would mean Washington would have to lose out.
I don't see a game in January. What
The
day?
Washington game?
The 5th?
Yeah, that's January 5th.
For some reason, I don't have it at all on here. But go ahead.
Because your calendar ran
Yeah, my
out at the end of the year.
I don't know why I don't have it. It's not there.
And you're looking at, and by the way, for those of
See,
you
that's
not
why you
watching,
have
he's looking
paper,
at his
okay?
phone. It's not like he's got one of those.
No, I do not have one of those.
You want me to give you the little card I have in my
thank
wallet?
you, sir. Yeah.
Because usually on those that you buy, what are those called? I mean, just a calendar that you buy at
The pocket schedule?
No, I'm talking at an Office Depot or whatever. The old school calendars.
Yeah.
They give you January too on the next
They
year.
did. I thought they did, man. It's crazy. Like,
So it's like a 13-month calendar
So it's at home
against
right?
Washington.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
And the goal is to make it a meaningful game.
Nice.
If you make that a meaningful game and you beat Washington, it might be for a final wild card spot.
Nice.
That's the goal.
All right.
Because the teams ahead of the Cowboys, the 3 of them are 6-6, so it's only one game.
Yeah.
And one of them is Tampa Bay, who you are going to play
right?
here in
And
a
then
couple
the
of
other
weeks.
one's Washington, and
And then the other 2 are the Cardinals and the Rams, who are playing in that tight NFC West, where they've got so many games against each other that.
So Washington has the Saints, the Eagles, the Falcons, and the Cowboys.
They're off this week.
Right.
So only got 4 left. Say it again.
Saints, Eagles, Falcons, Cowboys. So they got to play 2 teams back to back that are in that group of 7.
And right now, they are 8-5, and so you need them to go 1-3 in their last 4
And they
games.
very well could.
You got to
to-
be one of those 3.
And yeah, right.
They very well could.
And that would make them 9-8. And if the Cowboys went 4-1, they'd be 9-8. And if it's a head-to-head tie with Washington, then the Cowboys would have the tiebreaker on them by beating them twice.
See, and the teams that have the toughest inner of those 7, the Rams have to play the Niners, Jets, Cards, and Seahawks. So they got to play three division games. Oh, they got the Bills too, by the way. So the Rams have to play 3 division games.
What were they again?
Bills, Niners, Jets, Cards, and Seahawks.
So yeah.
So there's a bunch of losses that got to happen there. And same thing with Arizona, Seahawks, Patriots, Panthers, Rams, and Niners.
Well, their non-division games should be W's for them.
You should have 2, right?
Although the Panthers are playing better, and
They are.
And then, by the way, the Cowboys play them next week.
Right, of course.
On the road.
On the road. They looking pretty good.
Interesting on Bryce Young because he's, after his rookie season, everyone was out on him, and even his own team was out on him, and Andy Dalton was starting games up until midseason, and now here in the last month, Bryce Young is, after a respite, is back out there, and he's and I haven't actually watched him, but just looking at the way they've fared in games, he's playing better apparently.
Well, it has a lot to do with the rest of that team and what they were trying to do too.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have much around them.
Well,
but maybe you sit out and you see
The defense is stepping up for him.
Right?
The defense is stepping up for him. They're holding it down until he's able to make some plays. And that's all a young quarterback needs.
You see the headline on the NFL Network right now?
Well, that's a shock.
Dak Prescott supports Mike McCarthy return in 2025. Do you want to get into that when Mick Shots continues in a moment?
If you choose to.
If we must.
All right, we're going to get into that, or we'll get into whatever is on Mickey's legal pad when Mick Shots continues in a moment.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with pregame sideline access and photo ops with current players, cheerleaders, and Cowboy legends. You want to stay at a team hotel, attend the best tailgate party in Texas, tour the Star, and talk X's and O's with me, Everson Walls? With Star Sports Tours, you can. Visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today.
Hey Cowboy fans, I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. But lately, I've been learning a new game, crypto. Sound confusing? Don't worry, even us pros were rookies in crypto once. That's why I trust blockchain.com. They make crypto easy. No confusing jargon, just the tools to help you win.
Prescott keeps it, slides with a first down.
Invest like your icons, where everyone is a rookie in crypto with blockchain.com.
Perfect throw, my goodness. Wow, did he ever thread the needle.
Visit blockchain.com/Cowboys to get started.
Hey y'all, Matt Pittman of Meat Church here. With football season kicking off, I'm already gearing up to bring the smoker back to AT&T Stadium for some epic tailgates. But with that Texas heat, it's crucial to keep my beer hand cramping cold. That's where Yeti's insulated Colster can cooler comes in clutch. This year, you can even get them with the iconic star engraved on the side. Licensed Yeti Cowboys gear is now available at Stadium Pro Shops, concessions, and on Yeti.com. Check it out today. Yeti, official cooler and drinkware of the Dallas Cowboys.
The Medal of Honor is our country's highest military award for valor in combat. More than 40 million individuals have served in the armed forces since the Civil War. Fewer than 4,000 have received the Medal of Honor. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a place to preserve these legacies and inspire America. It's being built right next door to the Dallas Cowboys in Texas. Help us honor our country's greatest heroes. Learn more and get involved at mohmuseum.org.
Back to Mick Shots.
All righty.
Celebrate Christmas at the Star.
Celebrate
in
the
Frisco.
holiday season at AT&T Stadium. Get a
Oh,
tour of the
AT&T.
home of get a tour of the home of the Dallas Cowboys, plus your photo with Santa and Mrs. Claus from December 10th through the 14th. Limited inventory is available. Secure your tickets today at attstadium.com/tours.
So he's going to be at AT&T Stadium too?
AT&T Stadium.
So he's going to make his way from the Star in Frisco. He's only doing the Star in Frisco on Fridays and Saturdays. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
But they got helicopters.
Then he's going to take his reindeer.
And he's going to
ride
go
his
on over to
reindeer
AT&T
over to
Stadium.
AT&T Stadium.
By the way, we got a Big 12 championship game at AT&T
That's
Stadium
right.
on
This weekend?
Saturday afternoon.
Is SMU playing in it? Oh, no,
No,
they're
they're
not
in
in the Big 12.
They're in the ACC championship game on Saturday night against Clemson. But it's Iowa State and Arizona State in the Big 12 championship game, in which I think it's interesting that Iowa State happens to be
That is not
here.
a matchup I was expecting for you to say. That's crazy.
That's so unstable.
Iowa State and Arizona State.
We just got to get used to it, Spag.
What happened to the days of Oklahoma, Nebraska?
Johnny Rogers.
That's right. That was my way to get out of Thanksgiving Day meal at
Johnny
my aunt's
Rogers.
house.
That was the game of the century,
That's
1971.
right, man. Come on, man.
Mm-hmm.
Return.
Yeah.
That game
I
started.
love
Clip,
college football,
that
man.
clip on the punt return.
Okay, Oklahoma.
You remember it. Yeah.
Okay, Oklahoma.
You remember the clip, don't you?
Well, I only learned of the clip as I got older. when I was a kid, when it happened, it was unsullied by all of this controversy.
If we had we wouldn't. Well, they don't replay clipping penalties.
They probably didn't have replay back then.
I'm pretty sure there was a lot of clipping going on back then. So let's just chalk it up to.
But I do think it's interesting that as we bring it back to Cincinnati, that Iowa State is here for at AT&T Stadium on Saturday, because this is the 30-year anniversary of the Barry Switzer, David Shula Cowboys-Bengals game in 1994. You remember the post-game handshake?
I do.
And what happened was that was Barry's first year as the head coach here.
Okay.
And so in this press conference before that game, the Cowboys, in fact, I went back and looked up. The Cowboys' record going into that game was 7-1. In Cincinnati, it was a 3-13 season. Do you know what David Shula's record was as a Cincinnati head coach?
Stop.
He was there from 91 to 96.
Stop.
He was 3-13 that year.
6 seasons? He got 6 seasons?
It was maybe 92 season. He was fired.
He got
5
fired
games
after
into the
90.
96 season.
Yeah, and he got fired here after the
And
90
did he land
season.
with a head coaching job the next year? I don't remember. But anyway, he was 19-50 or something like that as a head coach with the Bengals. But
And
anyway,
Everson said I could have figured that.
but
Well,
He didn't say it, though.
he didn't like me. And it all came from just something innocent. I had a show at that time, and we were speaking of the offense and how we weren't doing anything. And I made some type of a characteristic.
you had mix shots, is what you were on mix shots.
I said something like it's futile or something futile, just trying to. Whatever. I was saying something everyone knew because we weren't scoring any points. And I talked about him being the offense coordinator, and it wasn't a mean statement. It was just something that was fact as we talked about what was wrong with our team. And at that time, of course, we're 1-15, so what the hell? There's a lot to talk about. He was just one of those subjects. So then I made the statement. I didn't think it was anything about it. Next thing you know, Gary Myers is calling me and said that Don Shula, his father, approached Myers about what Emerson Walls was saying about his son.
I was watching the game the other night, and Emerson was playing.
Who was that?
Emerson Boozer?
No, it was Emerson. The guy's last name was
last
Emerson.
name, okay.
And they kept saying Emerson. And I'm going, oh, there's an Emerson.
That's not how you say it. That's what you tell him. His last name is Everson. No, I'm just playing. But
Don Shula
approached Gary Myers because that's when they were doing HBO inside the NFL.
Yeah, okay.
And they were on the show together. Myers was one of the panel members.
Okay, all right.
And he told his daddy on me, and his daddy was, basically he snitched on me. And his dad was trying to take up for him. And I'm like, man, this guy's way too old for his father to be taking up for him. That's just all I can think of. Like, dude, you're right here in the same facility with me. Come talk to me about that. He went and told his daddy.
So how old do you think David Shula was when he was the offensive coordinator of the Cowboys?
For 2 years, I'm going to
25?
guess 31.
He was 89. He would have been 30 years old when, 30 years old when, and then.
Hey, you went over.
He became,
But the next year he was 31.
So he became the head
like
coach.
A game show. You went over.
He became the head coach of the Bengals in '92 at age 33. He went 5-11, 3-13, 3-13, 7-9, and 1-6.
So he was able to get the head
19-52
coach of the Cincinnati Bengals after being the offensive coordinator
been fired
for a
here.
1-15 Dallas Cowboys team.
And 7
And a
and
7-9 team in 1990.
Okay, so
he
he
was
did.
here
Oh,
in
he
with-
90
So is
also.
that trend upward?
3 future Hall of Famers.
With that trend upward
On
is what
offense.
got him his head
Okay, so
coaching
let's
job.
add that together with his 19-52 record. He would go 1-15 and 7-9.
They didn't even put that one on there. Ooh.
He was just the coordinator now.
So 8-24, so that makes him 27 and 76.
It's all the same. Just-
But anyway, back to the story. So in this press conference that week, the Cowboys were 7-1 going into the game against a bad Cincinnati team, and so Switzer is like, it's kind of like, getting you ready to play a team. It's kind of like Iowa State in the Big 8, where you've got to get them ready to play, no matter what the other team's record is or whatever.
Well, it made it to Cincinnati.
And so the Cowboys win the game. Cincinnati almost beat
It was
the
close.
Cowboys. They came closer than Iowa State ever did against Switzer's Oklahoma teams. And that was back when, by the way, when Iowa State was not good. Now they're good.
Yeah.
And so in the post-game handshake, Shula came up to Switzer and said words to the effect of, "Take that Iowa State and shove it up your..."
They beat him 23-20.
Yeah.
I think it was a walk-off or field goal at the end, maybe something like that. Yeah, and he
So that was 30 years ago. That's a trip down Cowboys-Bengals memory lane.
October 30th is almost Halloween.
What is a Shula doing in the Cowboys organization anyway? Yeah, break, bro.
And
that?
it was a Chris Bonio field goal,
See?
a 38-yard field goal. In fact,
doing with
Bonio, man, Switzer loved Bonio.
What are you doing with that
This?
team photo?
Oh,
Where'd you
I
get
don't
that
know. It
from?
was just sitting
It was just
there.
sitting
see
there.
that. That's right
1982
This
Cowboys team photo.
This comes when they bring your bill at the Cowboy Club.
Yeah,
They
I know.
give you one of these team pictures.
Oh, really?
I'm just surprised that it's in here. That's all. This is strike year.
Somebody in here must have been up at the Cowboys Club.
I guess so. It wasn't me.
Okay, so we didn't talk about
what
Dak's-
happened to Dak?
Dak's support of Mike
You got
McCarthy.
3 minutes.
There was it went viral yesterday, and it's the talk of NFL Network and ESPN, of course, this morning that
That's a big deal.
Dak Prescott has come out in support of his head coach and believes that Mike McCarthy should be extended.
And that's not a surprise, is it?
No, it's not
I don't
surprising
understand why.
at all.
Yeah, it's no big deal. They're making a big deal out of this now. Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
It's Cowboys.
And I'm trying to
I know, but damn, dude.
find it real quick. But in his interview on the radio yesterday,
What do you expect?
he doubled down on the
This
McCarthy
is
thing.
so Dak was it interviewed on the radio yesterday?
No, McCarthy.
Oh, McCarthy.
I mean Jerry talking about McCarthy.
Okay, Jerry's interview on
Yeah.
the Fan yesterday.
And that got some legs also, by the way. Trying to see.
And by the way, the interview was with that Dak did was with Jory Epstein.
Mm-hmm.
He was making the Dick's Sporting Goods rounds, I think, yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and so that got tweeted out and reacted to. But I mean, really, what? And I'm sure that Dak is very supportive of Mike McCarthy. I mean, you think about it; those coaches are in that room together. How many hours during a given week, and they're all on the same page as far as trying to get this thing going.
Yeah.
And then there's no reason to think. Dak led the league in touchdown passes last year. Has been very successful under Mike McCarthy.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. I don't understand the controversy, but I do appreciate the fact that Dak is trying to keep some type of a continuity going in this organization. If he's going to be here, I'm sure he doesn't want to be part of any coaching changes at this time in his career. So you could call it a pretty selfish thing, but at the same time, just because it's selfish, that doesn't mean that it might be good or might not be good for the Dallas Cowboys organization.
Well, and I think the other point he was trying to make is every once in a while a good coach has a bad season.
Mm-hmm. And the thing that has happened is because we've ended on bad notes, and hadn't gone further. It's the abbreviated playoff appearances that have made good seasons ending up in a bad season. So as far as the pundits are concerned, and those negative pundits, they're going to talk about how these last 3 seasons have been failures. Not that they've had any success at all. They're going to try to forget about the great years, the great plays and season that CD and Dak had, as well as the rest of the team.
Here's what I thought was the interesting thing about what Dak said in this. And here's his whole quote. I believe in him, McCarthy, wholeheartedly. I don't want to necessarily get into, he said, I don't want to necessarily get into the nuts and the screws of it all, obviously.
He means bolts.
Yes, he did mean bolts. But I think
bolts, screws, same thing.
But I think maybe that's how they say it in Louisiana.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I think he definitely deserves a chance. Another contract. I mean, here it is. Here's what was interesting about it, I thought. And a chance to coach this team amongst more influence on his terms may be a good way to say it. So we'll read through the lines of that.
I missed it. Who's he talking to?
A chance to coach this team, and you could tell he was thinking how to best phrase this, amongst more influence on his terms may be a good way to say it.
That is not going to happen. There's still going to be, if he comes back, it's going to still be under the same terms that it has always been under. Mm-hmm. So whatever he's referring to, that's still going to be there. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to, jump to any conclusions, but that person or situation is still going to remain.
Meaning you got to get to the Super Bowl.
You still got to get to the Super Bowl, regardless of what is going on or what kind of influences might be affecting his success.
Okay, Mickey, you found anything else you're perusing through?
I was trying to see what Jerry said about him talking about what he's done and how he's kept this team together, and he hasn't looked back. He keeps looking forward, and we're building guys for the future, the young guys that they're playing right now. And I saw somebody made a big deal of that. But I can't seem to find it under this transcription I have.
Well, since you can't find it,
I guess we'll just move on.
Okay, we're going to move on to Cincinnati then. Okay, and we continue with more Mick shots in just a moment.
Hey y'all, Matt Pittman of Meat Church here. With football season kicking off, I'm already gearing up to bring the smoker back to AT&T Stadium for some epic tailgates. But with that Texas heat, it's crucial to keep my beer hand cramping cold. That's where Yeti's insulated Colster can cooler comes in clutch. This year, you can even get them with the iconic star engraved on the side. Licensed Yeti Cowboys gear is now available at Stadium Pro Shops, concessions, and on Yeti.com. Check it out today. Yeti, official cooler and drinkware of the Dallas Cowboys.
Hey Cowboy fans, I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. But lately, I've been learning a new game, crypto. Sound confusing? Don't worry, even us pros were rookies in crypto once. That's why I trust blockchain.com. They make crypto easy. No confusing jargon, just the tools to help you win.
Prescott keeps it, slides with a first down.
Invest like your icons, where everyone is a rookie in crypto with blockchain.com.
Perfect throw, my goodness. Wow, did he ever thread the needle.
Visit blockchain.com/Cowboys to get started.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with pregame sideline access and photo ops with current players, cheerleaders, and Cowboy legends. You want to stay at a team hotel, attend the best tailgate party in Texas, tour the Star, and talk X's and O's with me, Everson Walls? With Star Sports Tours, you can. Visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today.
Cowboys football and Miller Lite. What a pairing. Can cracks at kickoff. Tailgates going way past postgame. Sunday night overtimes followed by Monday morning swagger. Brisket in the smoker. Miller Lite in the cooler. America's team playing America's greatest sport. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys football tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. 2023 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Back to Mick Shots.
The 2025 NFL Pro Bowl games are taking over Orlando, and the roster is up to you. Cast your ballot for the 2025 Pro Bowl games vote and send your favorite Dallas Cowboys players to compete in the ultimate AFC versus NFC showdown this February. Vote now at probowl.com/vote.
Okay, Mickey, tell me something else that we need to talk about here.
You know what? I put this list together. Just thinking about it last night. The injuries the Cowboys have had, and the guys that have returned, because everybody keeps asking me what's been the difference. And so here's the guys that returned from injuries. Micah Parsons, Deron Bland, Brandon Cooks, finally, and Chuma Edoga. The guys still out this last game or are still on injured reserve trying to get back. Sam Williams, Dak Prescott, DeMarcus Lawrence, John Stevens, Awesome Richards, Amani Oruwariye, so I hear that he may get back into practice this week. He's eligible. Kalen Carson, Josh Butler, Zach Martin, Trayvon Diggs, Marquise Bell, Wanye Thomas, Jake Ferguson, and Marshawn Nealon. That's the injury list. So when you sit here and wonder why they're 5.5-point underdogs at home, I'm sure Vegas looked at this list and said,
Gotta say, Vegas, they're not wrong much. They're not wrong much.
And they're looking at, they got Joe Burrow and the Cowboys are starting Cooper Rush. But anyway, they got some guys back, but look at all the guys still missing. And we're talking starters.
Yeah.
Well, and that stuff, as we all know, goes on around the league. The issue for the Cowboys is, and we knew going back to the spring, that because of the salary cap issues that this team has, they weren't able to be active as they normally are, getting veteran guys in unrestricted free agency. They had to take a different tack on it this year. And so they don't have the veteran depth that they normally would have. And so you're having to play younger players, unproven players, and sometimes that'll bite you. Well, and in fact, some of your starters are unproven players that you're counting on, including your first-round draft pick.
Just think what happened at cornerback with Bland out, right? Then you developed and played Amani Oruwariye, and then he's on injured reserve. And then you had Kalen Carson playing, and now he's on injured reserve. You developed Josh Butler off the practice squad starting, and he's on injured reserve. And in the middle of all that, one game, Jordan Lewis misses, and now the last two games, Trayvon Diggs misses.
And in terms of cornerback, that's a great example at the cornerback position, because the Cowboys would have loved to have been able to have done what Minnesota did, which is sign Stephon Gilmore back, okay? And Stephon Gilmore goes to Minnesota. Why does Minnesota able to do that? They let Kirk Cousins go in free agency, and so they got money to spend on a
sign
veteran
him
guy
to
like that.
$8 million on a one-year deal.
I mean, even you can take to the running back position. They didn't have the money to spend on a Derrick Henry, who had $9 million a year, because you've got priorities elsewhere with these contracts.
And then, the same thing happened at defensive end. When Parsons was out, your top four guys were out. So you're starting number 5 and number 6.
Then you're going to the dollar store as far as the veteran guys.
Yes. And you're signing Carl Lawson, who kind of stepped up this last game.
Yes, he did.
But he hadn't been with anybody the whole offseason. He didn't go through training camp, and all of a sudden he shows up, and, by the way, you got to play.
And he's not bad.
And so he's starting to show that why he did what he did in
2 years ago,
2022, right, with the Jets.
Yeah,
I mean, he had almost,
like 8 sacks, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So he had a sack and sack and a half, or a half a sack in 5 quarterback pressures on Sunday.
And that's
on Thanksgiving.
That's the example of a guy not believing the narrative. Not letting anyone let him know how good he is. Mm-hmm. And so we need more of those guys that say, you know what, I can still play. You know, regardless of what you've heard, regardless of what's on paper, I still have it inside to be able to play some good football.
And they're going to need it again because while they're talking about activating DeMarcus Lawrence practice period, 21 days this week, I don't know that he goes out there and plays on Sunday or Monday, maybe the next week, right? He hadn't played since.
We always talk about ramp up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he definitely needs to ramp up. He's been out.
I mean, he hadn't had one practice since
it's just
2
like
or 3 weeks in.
Right.
Just like with Edoga, the previous week he was active, but he didn't play in the game. Okay, and they wanted to get through the Thursday game. McCarthy, after the game, we were talking about Edoga and the number of snaps he got, and he said, "Yeah, he got a lot more than what we were anticipating." It sounded like they were going to maybe alternate. In the Thursday game, Guyton, and alternate by, give Guyton 2-3 series and have Edoga spell him at times. That's what, just reading through the lines of McCarthy's answer on that.
Well, think about it. The previous game when Awesome was there, they had him rotate in until he got hurt.
Yeah.
And now he's
I think they
IR.
decided to kind of go that route with Guyton,
and
where
then
you're not getting a full plate, and then
Adoga comes in on the first play and he gets called for a face mask.
You guys might disagree, but I think Tyson's problem is that he needs.
You mean Tyler?
Tyler Guyton. I think he needs
rhymes.
He needs more. I just think he needs more help on technique. Mm-hmm. He just needs more. He has the attitude. The attitude is there.
He hasn't played much football.
Well, that's why they need to go into some type of tutelage to where this guy can be taught all the different trades. I think it's like Greg Ellis needs to do more with him on an individual basis because the guy is pretty good, or whoever the offensive coordinator. I think Greg needs to work with him because Greg was a defensive player. Yeah, he's a defensive player. He can tell him what to look out for. That's who he needs to be working with because the footwork seems to be there, but it's the hands and the attitude here that seems to get him in trouble. You have a guy blocked, but then you decide to put some extra into it. And there's a timing on when you can do that. You can't do it from the line of scrimmage. There are times when the guy's going down, you got to let him go down. He just doesn't seem to have the nuance together in regards to.
No, he wants to bury him
every time.
The first time he played offensive tackle in a college football game, basically, was 2 years ago in 2022.
Yeah.
And he wasn't even he wasn't a full-time starter at all that year.
Like 5 games,
and
maybe.
And the only reason he started was because Wanye Morris, who's now with Kansas City and having problems, by the way, at left tackle for Kansas City, he was suspended to start that year. And then so Guyton had to play, and even though he wasn't ready. And then he did play last year, but he was kind of the same kind of stuff he's going through here, where he get nicked up and miss a game, and then he wound up, I think, playing starting 8 or 9 games on a 12-game schedule.
9 of 10.
Okay. And then opted out for the draft come November, basically.
So he could have had another year of eligibility in college.
Oh, yeah. And with a COVID year, he might have had 2 years of eligibility left.
And so to me, I think they need to be more creative on how they approach this learning curve for him. I think, obviously, the offensive line coach can't do that. You have to have a guy like a Greg Ellis to show him, okay, this what worked against me when I played. And, of course, Greg is going against some of the best offensive linemen in history. And so he could show him some stuff that just might rub off on him. I don't know, guys.
By the way, there's the line of scrimmage. This is where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Not in the backfield.
Well, now that's a trick of the trade. So.
Well, but that comes from your anxiety of getting beat, so you're trying to take every advantage you can get. And he will have problems with that speed rush to the outside.
And it's going to help him being in an off-season program
Yes.
and getting stronger and so forth, and his body getting it.
Because
NFL.
offensive linemen don't get a chance to develop in the offseason. There's no football being played. And then you get to training camp, and it's basically the same thing in practice, even though you got pads on once a day.
Right.
But no more
that's
than
the difference.
4 times a week.
That's the difference. That's the difference. Reps.
Okay, we touched on it at the end of the show yesterday about the senior finalists for the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Okay,
And
those
Spags couldn't say the guy's name.
and so just to review, and we are not happy about it, to review, Mike Holmgren, a coach finalist, and the seniors finalists are Maxie Bond, Sterling Sharp, and Jim Tyrer. And Jim Tyrer, considered one of the dominant offensive tackles of his era, selected as a member of the AFL's All-Decade Team of the 60s, played in 9 AFL All-Star games in a career that spanned 13 years with the Dallas Texans first, of course, became the Kansas City Chiefs. Won a ring as a member of the Super Bowl IV champion Chiefs and was part of 3 AFL championship teams with the Texans and the Chiefs. And the other thing to keep in mind, it's not the NFL Hall of Fame, it's the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So all that AFL stuff counts. Now then, let me find. Go ahead.
And I don't mean this disparaging or anything, but is he still alive?
No. In fact, that leads me to the rest of the story.
See, and that's the worst part. Is these guys getting in? It was like the offensive lineman from, I want to say it was Mississippi State. He was totally out of it, and he got in, or even what it happened with the Cowboys, right? Couldn't be at the ceremony. Chuck Hawley.
Yep.
You wait so long for these guys. You know, Bob Hayes. He could have been in, and they voted him out, basically, and then he passes away, and then he gets in.
Yeah.
Now, it's great for the family, but, you know, the poor guy deserves to know he's been in.
Like they say, give him his flowers while he's alive.
The Jim Tyrer story is a tragic one. After his playing career, and I'm reading this off his Wikipedia page.
And we're assuming it's accurate.
Yeah, so there's that. He turned down an opportunity to serve as a scout for the Chiefs, then spent the next 3 years as a salesman before tiring of the constant travel and investing in a tire business. Jim Tyrer. However, a mild winter proved to be financially disastrous for Tyrer, who moved on to work for Amway. And it says this series of business misfortunes culminated in the early hours of September 15th, 1980. And he was 41 years old at the time when Tyrer shot and killed his wife, Martha, then died by suicide by turning the gun on himself. The day before, he had attended a Chiefs game at Arrowhead Stadium with his 10-year-old son, Jason. In 2021, the documentary A Good Man, the Jim Tyrer story,
this is the good part,
by Kansas City filmmaker Kevin Patrick Allen was released.
And in that, I don't know if it's in that film, but the story goes on to talk about how CTE may have played a big part in his final decisions of his life. And I guess the best part about it is his in-laws forgave him so much because they believed that it was because of the injuries that he sustained during football. They forgave him so much to where they basically pleading for anyone to forgive him. This is coming from the in-law side. And that's how much they thought about him. That's how much they realized that the game itself took away from him mentally. And so I get it kind of confused in the end, but for the most part, they have totally forgiven him. If I'm not mistaken, they still have him buried beside their daughter. That's how much they forgave him.
Well, and the other part of it, Tyrer's sons, Brad Tyrer played college football under Tom Osborne at Nebraska from 83 to 88. He was part of the Black Shirts defense. And then the other son, Jason, played for Kansas, defensive end for Kansas. So they had
big
successful
boys. So
college
big
career.
boys. They are big boys.
Think about back then, the difference between the helmets now and the helmets back then.
Come on, man. Yeah. I mean, we got problems in the 80s. Not even talking about the 60s.
They were just a little bit better than leather, right?
right. And so that's the thing that they wanted the NFL to continue saying is forget what happened off the field. He was a good man, but also he was a damn good player on the field. So I just thought that was a cool story of redemption in regards to that entire family and a tragic situation. So
giant of a man for that era, 6'6", 280 pounds.
He sure was. That's why his kids did so well.
Yeah.
That might have been too heavy for Tom, by the way. 280-pound offensive lineman.
It wasn't for Hank Stram, though, and he was an 8-time AFL All-Star. All right.
I'm sure Tom. I'm sure Tom almost fainted when Nate showed up in 1986 at 300 and whatever pounds
Nate.
that
He didn't
was.
appreciate my man Nate.
All right, that does it for Mick Shots for this Wednesday, and we will shout at you again tomorrow at high noon.
Go Cowboys.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!